So about 5 years ago, I left my job at the Center for Addiction and Mental Health and started at Laurier and started a research group. And we tentatively called our group Interdisciplinary and Indigenous Pathways to Wellness because we thought that might describe the kinds of research we did and continue to do. And I had reached out to Elder Ningwakwe to ask if she would be willing to think on a name for our group and talk to her about the different kinds of projects that we do and are hoping to do. Ningwakwe and Lori together were a big part of gifting us this name. Both of you are highly respected. You're a bright spot to many people I know, not only in your community, but also in other communities with giant hearts. And I'm so grateful that our pathways have crossed. I'm wondering if you could introduce yourselves next.
I initially moved home to retire, but it hasn't quite worked out like that. Here I am. I'm going to be 79 in the fall. I'm juggling 3 long-term part-time projects as well as different things that come my way that aren't so much a project. And one of them is the work that I've been doing with Melody on what eventually morphed into what we call Ind Wisdom, which is Indigenous wisdom, but kind of put together, and it highlights Indigenous ways of knowing. So I'm very happy to be a part of this.
So bonjour, hello everybody. My name is Lori Kwekam. I'm from Saugeen. I worked with my community of Saugeen for a number of years, primarily dealing with cultural wellness and development. The last number of years had been with the advocacy for healing, which had to do with historical traumas such as residential schools, day schools, 60s Scoop, all those. Parts of our history that our people are still dealing with. But I also retired in May of last year. So as Ningwakwe has mentioned, retirement does not mean that we are free and have nothing to do.
When Mel came to me and told me about this hub, I believe you used at that time, it was loosely being called a research hub. And in my Anishinaabe mind, as soon as I heard the word hub, it was kind of like the heart. But having been passively bilingual, I felt more comfortable inviting somebody who is fluent in the language. I invited Lori in and to talk about this research hub.
When we were discussing a name, we talked about spirit. We talked about resilience. It didn't quite touch how when somebody has had multiple crises going on in their families, sometimes at the same time, and yet they still keep going. How do they keep going? When we were talking about spirit, when we were talking about the resilience, and it just didn't quite touch it, Ningwakwe and I were talking about, what is that? What is it inside that keeps people going? And we talked about the fire. The fire is very important in our culture. It's that connection to spirit, it's that connection to the land, it's that connection to everything. And when we look at our spiritual teachings, we are all one. And we need to remember that in our connections. And that fire brings its own. When there's a sacred fire that's lit in the community, for whatever purpose that may be, it draws people. When there's a passing, a sacred fire is lit. And that helps with the journey of that spirit to transition to the spirit world. And it's also a place of safety, sacredness, and healing for the family. It's that fire. And that fire needs to be fed. When people are in crisis and they're hurting, we need to help to feed that fire so that they know that they're not alone.
Ishkode. Is that right?
Yeah, Ishkode. My understanding of Ishkode is it's kind of broken up into our meanings of our words have different forms of translation. So Ishkode was like that first spark in the heart. So if you break it into two, Ishkwa is that first light. De, that second part of that word, is a short form of de, which is the heart.
Those little wee lights that appear to be in the heart and background, which of course is the color purple, those to us represented the spirit, because it's the spirit of this research hub that is going to be extremely important and continually feeding that spirit, but feeding ourselves as we do the research. I'm looking at the family around the fire. And I'm looking at what appear to be roots underneath the fire, and gosh, they sure represent strawberries to me. Strawberries in our culture are what we call the heartberry.
I just want to look at the little lights again on the outside part of the heart. When we look at those, I also see like star images. You look at the night sky. In one of our creation stories, it talks about our connection with the universe. So the fire has that connection within ourselves, has a connection with the core of the earth, and the comfort that it brings, the warmth that it brings, even just its purpose of being able to cook our food for us when we need something to eat. It's very a very part of our being. And you have the wood that feeds that fire, so you're looking at our connection with the trees and the plant life. That connection with that medicine of that heartberry, it's one of the first medicines that appears in the springtime that grows and comes to us. So it shows the present, which are the people around the fire, but it also shows the ancestors and it shows the descendants. And all of those things, the 7 generations, is a means of how we bring our knowledge forward and we plan going into the future.
I feel honored by the significance and the meanings of the word Ishkode, and I really hope we can live up to the spirit of the name. All of our work is ultimately about honoring individual and community rights and dignity and shifting power dynamics. And so I know that the people who are part of the Ishkode research group have an inherent drive to do meaningful research, and it's that inner fire that's stoked by the people and the communities that we're all part of. And I trust that the kinds of research we do will keep that fire going. I know our group from year to year is always very good with collaboration. We value working together and recognizing each other's strengths and building each other up through mentorship and respect and care. I know that we're motivated in ways that extend way beyond academic learning and thinking. Ultimately, I think we're just trying to be good people, honoring each other's wisdom, strengths, and ways of knowing. Even though our projects vary from year to year, I really hope that our Ishkode research group will live up to and continue to grow into that name.